Hidden inside this mitered cabinet is, apparently, one of the best kept secrets in woodworking. So, let me teach you all about it. Oh yeah, still hurts. It's good to be back, friends. But we'll talk about the break a little bit later in this video. Right now, we're gonna start off by talking about the L tenon, which I was surprised to learn how few people actually know about. And yes, I understand the title of this video is probably very dramatic, and the opening certainly dramatic, but here's the truth. A few weeks ago, I was working on this here cabinet, and as I was building the miters and doing all of the internal joinery, I was creating and using these L tenons. And to my surprise, a whole host of people responded to those stories and were DMing me saying, I've never seen this. I've never seen anybody do it on the internet. What is it? How does it work? And can you do a video on it? And so that brings us to today, where we are going to talk about what apparently is, and to my surprise is, one of the best kept secrets in woodworking. Let's start at the beginning. What is an L tenon and why am I using it in this cabinet specifically? Well, an L tenon to start is nothing more than a standard floating tenon, like a domino. It just happens to be shaped like an L in order to adjoin two perpendicular pieces to one another. And there are advantages and disadvantages to both, which we will get into later on in the video. But the second question of why am I using it in this particular cabinet is a good one, because there's a lot going on in this cabinet. There's a tremendous amount of internal joinery happening, and I need these miters to be absolutely bomb-proof and as easy to assemble during the glue-up as possible. But in order to explain all of that, let's cut a couple of miters and show you how we would normally reinforce a miter with a floating tenon. So what I've got here are a couple of miters that have been reinforced with a standard floating tenon or a domino. And you can see right away, as soon as I pop this in here, what my major limitation is. The depth of tenon that I can get from the front to the back of this is only about 8 mil, which is not a lot. Now I can make that a little bit longer by moving this tenon down toward the interior shoulder of this joint, but the further I move it down, the further away from the actual exterior or probably the show face this tenon is gonna get, and so the reinforcement, it doesn't become weaker, it becomes less ideal the further away from the leading edge it goes.
What you talking about, Willis?
Now, if I go to assemble this joint, I can do it just like that. There's nothing wrong with this joint. Don't let anybody tell you that this is not a good way to do it. All I'm saying is it has its limitations. And if this is a super structurally important, let's call it a table leg, right? You see a waterfall coffee table, and all it has is this tiny little bit of registration in there. You might want to consider, especially if it's in a place that's going to take a lot of abuse, to reinforce that with a stronger joint. All right, enough jibba jabba. How do we actually make this L tenon? Well, we start by cutting plywood, so let's cue the music. So, while that's drying, you might be asking yourself, Eric, that seems like a lot of work. Why not just take two pieces of plywood and glue them together along the grain and create the L tenon that way? And that's a totally fair question. So let's do that, make an L tenon, and see what happens. All right, so we've got our L tenon, we've got our bracket, and I've gone ahead and cut an L tenon out of that exact same material. Now, can you take a guess as to what the problem is gonna be? You can see how it fundamentally looks different from this, right? Our grain is running in the opposite direction, and what that means is half of this is short grain. This side, plenty strong, plenty strong. This side, not so much so. I can actually just do that, and it'll always snap along the grain. Could you take effectively two pieces like this and finger joint them? 1000%. That's a technique that some people do use. This is just the way that this stack lamination, this is the way that I was taught in school, so it's the way that I continue to do it. But there are an infinite number of ways that you can create the L tenon. So knowing that about this piece, if I were to take this and put it in my miter here and put it in my miter here, I might go, I've got a super strong joint. And I do to an extent. It certainly, if nothing else, makes the assembly easier, which is part of the reason to use the L tenon. But as soon as I get any leverage on it, it's just gonna snap right off. So that's the reason we do the cross lamination. And now we're gonna sit and wait for glue to dry, and then we'll cut some L tenons. And whilst we wait for glue to dry, I wanna talk to you guys about the usefulness of assembly tables. The reality is I've been doing glue ups on my bench for years, but keeping it free of drips that can dry hard and dent my work can be a real pain. So I recently jumped at the opportunity to get myself not only a proper assembly table in the shop, but one that is fully adjustable in height. That's right, FlexiSpot is back yet again as a sponsor of this week's video. FlexiSpot's E7L standing desk has a robust 3-legged frame, making it substantially more stable than a traditional 2-legged standing desk, especially when operating at full height. And the extra L-shaped top means that both me and Larissa have enough room to use this table for assembly and glue up simultaneously. FlexiSpot's triple motor design means more power and stability than its competitors. This thing can support up to 330 pounds, which is crucial given that I'll be loading it up with wood and clamps in the near future. The L-shaped desktop also comes in a variety of materials, but I went with the bamboo top because wood surfaces just look prettier. It has a height adjustment range of 25 to 50.5 inches and a digital keypad featuring 4 programmable presets, so I'm able to glue up a table or finish a cabinet at any height that's comfortable for me and my aging back. Plus, it's budget friendly compared to other standing desk options, which can be about twice the price, and it comes with a 15-year warranty. So don't miss the chance to get your own E7L standing desk and save your back the trouble of low-lying assembly tables. Click the link in the description below and use my code YTE7P50 to get $50 off any standing desk. And thanks to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this week's video. So, before we get back to it, I did say that I would address why I took a break. I'm not going to dive all the way into it. If you want all of the information, you can go check out the Patreon, where I'm already talking about kind of the concept behind that cabinet and part of the reason I took a summer break. But really a big part of it is just a creative reset. I sit with what it means to be a furniture maker, what it means to be a content creator, the ethics of what it is to be putting out content regularly and vying for people's attention and the algorithm and all of those things. And part of what I needed to do this summer was just to step away and take a look at the bigger picture of things, where I want my career to go, what I want to be doing in 10 years. Do I want to be doing this in 10 years? I don't know. So part of it is just simply taking a break and reassessing. And I am grateful that you guys got a vacuum press going. I'm grateful that you guys are still here and watching this video. I'm grateful that you guys have created this wonderful community, and I just want to say thank you. So without further ado, let's get back to the woodworking portion of things. All right, so with this all glued up, a couple of questions arise first. Number one, why not make a cleat? And I totally could. I could make a cleat that's going to allow me to clamp this way and this way so that this remains straight and square and everything is all good. I don't have any of those twisting issues or potentially creating a big old bow in this thing. But I'm too lazy to do that. So what I do is I just make these way oversized. So this is a 2-inch square, and the deepest I can cut with my standard domino is, I believe, 28 mil. I effectively am just gonna make this oversized, join it, plane it, cut it, and it's gonna be totally fine. So, that said, let's joint one edge, let's cut this thing square, and let's create a floating tenon the same way that I did the other pieces. So cue the music montage. All right, let's have this conversation real quick. I know this is dangerous. I'm very aware of the fact that as I run this over the blade, a couple of things are happening. Number one, it's a buried cut, which is never great. Number two, it's a buried cut going across the grain, which is also never great. Number three, as I make the final relief cut, this block is gonna come loose, which means that this whole L shape could tip down, hit the top of the blade, and create kickback.
That's a table saw kickback. Pretty scary, right?
So none of this is ideal, but again, I want to reiterate, as I have many times on this channel, just because it's a thing you shouldn't do at the beginning of your career doesn't mean it's a thing that doesn't happen in professional wood shops.
What are you doing? Are you kidding me? Are you screwing with me right now?
I'm not saying do stupid things and work in an unsafe manner. What I am saying is there are infinite numbers of ways that you could make this relief cut. You could do it on a router table. You could do it with a shaper. You could do it with a router. This is how I do it. It's the most efficient way for me to do it. And what you'll notice is what I'm about to do is take a block. I'm going to press on the top where this whole section is going to remain and make this cut, making sure that my pressure is close to the fence where the vertical piece exists. At no point am I going to put any pressure where there is no longer any support. Another way you can approach this is by simply not removing the final little bit of material, by making a pass and then coming right up to the edge where you're leaving a tiny little web in there and going in there and removing it with a shoulder plane, with a router, with a knife, whatever you gotta do to work safely.
All right, calm down, calm down.
So I just wanna make a note of that from a safety perspective. That said, let's cut this big old block out. So, just as we did before, I'm gonna cut a couple of mortises that are parallel to the long edge here, just like it would be a standard mortise and tenon if these were 90-degree butts. And then I can take that mortise and I can slide in my brand new L tenon, pop that right in there, and I can do the same thing over here, throw some glue in that joint, and that is gonna be absolutely bomb-proof for the length of whatever this piece of furniture is. Now, you might be saying, Eric, that's not a super long L joint, and that's true. This is the exact same size as I made the L tenons for the cabinet I was talking about at the beginning of this video, and if this was, as I said at the beginning of this video, a structurally really important weight-bearing miter here, I would use my XL domino, I would make that mortise a lot deeper, and I would stick with the original size of the L tenon bracket that I made, or the glue up, or whatever you want to call it, a big chunk of plywood. I would just leave those ripping at a big long 2 inches, and that's going to create all of this leverage, and that joint is never going to come apart even if you try. But for a piece that's only 5/8 of an inch thick, and it's only 8 inches wide, and it's gonna be a wall hanging cabinet. It's not gonna be bearing that much weight on those corners. This is plenty. It makes the assembly infinitely easier, and it creates a stronger joint. So friends, that's that. That's the L tenon. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was informative. It's a little bit of a chaotic video because I'm feeling rusty, if I'm just fully honest. A lot of takes in here where I was like, I don't even know what I'm saying or where I'm trying to go. And I got used to getting in the flow of just saying things and it working out. This one, not so much. Got to shake the rust off. But I do hope this was helpful information, and I hope you explore this. This is a really interesting technique. Like I said, there are a bunch of different ways to make these, and it will make your joinery a lot stronger, especially on big structural miters. So that's that. I'm gonna clean up and get out of here because I have to leave for a wedding in like 4 hours and I haven't even packed yet. So friends, until the next video, go make a thing, try to enjoy it if you can, and be warm and well fed. Cheers.